Hey guys, welcome back to the Wide Awake Show. Today we will be talking about something pretty interesting that happened yesterday, or I think 2 days ago now actually. And that is how Meta, which is the company that owns Facebook, Instagram, Threads, etc., Mark Zuckerberg's company, basically, right? They just completely and really just blatantly censored a RFK Jr. sort of ad slash movie or film that was produced. Now, this was a really well put together kind of documentary, I'll say. Again, this was 30 minutes, a short film, and it was narrated by Woody Harrelson, which was actually pretty interesting. He endorsed Kennedy early on into his bid. But yeah, it was a really cool film. Definitely makes you like Kennedy more. That's not really debatable, I don't think. But it was produced by American Values 2024, which is the super PAC supporting Robert F. Kennedy Jr.'s campaign. And this movie, film, every link to it that linked to YouTube, that was posted on Facebook, most notably, but probably Instagram and other social media sites, considering that they are all owned by Meta, they were censored. These links to this movie were blocked. This film could not be posted on Facebook for quite a while. It was marked as false information or something, and you couldn't watch it. They took down the posts. Now, American Values 2024 is suing Meta. And, just a really interesting story because, this is the most obvious example now of a social media site censoring Robert F. Kennedy Jr. because this has happened multiple times now. But this is by far the most clear because, a lot of his other stuff is taken down and flagged as misinformation because it talks about vaccines and all that, and of course, Kennedy is highly associated with anti-vaccine conspiracies. But this film I watched, it barely even mentioned vaccines, and what it said was Robert F. Kennedy Jr. is pro-safe vaccine. So just looking at my screen now, just a very interesting situation that's playing out. You can see the New York Times wrote an article about it, how Robert F. Kennedy Jr. claims that it was censorship after Facebook and Instagram briefly blocked their ad. And this is not a claim, right? They're saying that in the headline, of course, but it was clear. And you can see they incorrectly had flagged it as spam. That's what they said. Now that, obviously they got to make up some excuse. And now, I am not a Kennedy supporter, increasingly by any means. I like the really strong sense of independence, away from the two parties. I love that about his campaign. That's what draws me in many ways to his campaign. But when you really get to the groundwork, his policies, I would really not feel. Why is that shaking so much? I would not feel good with Robert F. Kennedy Jr. As my president. I don't think that he would make a very good president, really at all. So, he talks about so much about how independent he is, but whatever. I won't go into too much about why he is not so good. But stuff like this only makes me like Kennedy more, because I love that independent feel about his campaign. I love that he, would be such an independent president. And this really, stuff like this, and it happens all the time, just proves so much that, he is not affiliated with these big corporations. These big corporations like Meta, hate him, right? That is what they have shown through all of these things. And that right now, that is one of the, if not the biggest problem that we have with our politicians in Washington right now. It's that they are all controlled by the same people. They act like they're so different and so partisan when they're just controlled, all of them, they're just controlled by the same, incredibly wealthy people, the same incredibly wealthy people. But, stuff like this, when Kennedy's being censored by Meta and, Mark Zuckerberg, that really only makes me like him and his campaign more. I mean, if this doesn't prove that Kennedy is truly independent and that Kennedy is not controlled by anyone, I don't know what else does. I really don't. So, Kennedy, very interesting what happened. But I really like this. I mean, Kennedy does not have really any, big money names or really any big names at all. Very few big names supporting his campaign. And, I mean, the fact that the Kennedy family doesn't support his campaign, his own family, I don't know about everyone else, but I think that, a good amount of people would agree with me that, like, I really don't care. If anything, it makes me like him more. Now I'm not saying I like really dislike the Kennedy family very much. I mean, but maybe in 2020, in this day and age, 2024, I feel like the Kennedy family might be, by now pretty affiliated with the establishment, even though whatever RFK Jr. is not, and RFK Jr.'s father was not. And in some ways, really, in a lot of ways, when you consider the CIA and other organizations that hated JFK, RFK Jr.'s uncle was not as well. So, I am becoming increasingly fond of Kennedy. I really liked Kennedy. I was a big supporter of him when he announced his candidacy as a Democrat. When he became more friendly and when he realized he had a lot of conservative support, kind of drifted away from his really progressive values. I mean, he really started his campaign, if you listen to his announcement speech, with very progressive values, and I think he has lost a lot of that, especially when he did become an independent. But really, stuff like this honestly makes me like Kennedy more, and it makes me think, stuff like this, it might be even more important than the policy. Even though, like, I really don't think, unlike many of his supporters, that Kennedy could bring the real change to Washington that we need, even as an independent. There's other branches of the government, right? But still, stuff like this, I mean, he would be a president for the people, and I really don't think there's any denying that. So thanks for watching. Thanks for tuning in to The Wide Awake Show. I hope you all enjoyed, and I will see you in the next episode.